Most SaaS projects fail. Not just fail to become unicorns, fail to make any money at all, fail to get a single paying customer, fail so quietly that 6 months in, the founder just stops working on it and pretends it never existed. The statistic people throw around is 90% of startups fail. But that's actually optimistic, because that number includes companies that fail after making money, companies that had paying customers and scaled to millions in revenue before imploding. The real number for SaaS specifically, for projects that never make a single dollar, it's closer to 95%. And almost nobody talks about why. The fundamental misunderstanding. Most people who start building a SaaS have this idea that the hard part is technical. They think, if I can just build a good product, people will pay for it. This is wrong. Completely, fundamentally wrong. The hard part isn't building. The hard part is finding people who care enough to pay. But nobody teaches you that. Every YouTube video, every blog post, every founder story focuses on the product. Here's the tech stack I used. Here's how I architected the system. Here's the infrastructure. Almost nobody talks about. How did you get the first paying customer? Because the answer is usually embarrassing. It's not sexy. It doesn't make for good content. The real answer is usually, I called people. I emailed people. I spent weeks talking to strangers. I faced rejection constantly. I pivoted the product based on what people actually wanted versus what I thought they wanted. That's not exciting. That doesn't get likes on Twitter. But that's what separates the 5% that makes money from the 95% that doesn't. The path most SaaS take. Here's the typical journey of a failed SaaS project. Month 1. You have an idea. You're excited. You tell everyone about it. Everyone says, that's cool. This feels like validation. But it's not. That's cool means nothing. It just means people are being polite. Month 2. You start building. You're deep in flow state. You love the work. You're moving fast. You ship something. It looks good. You're proud. You launch it somewhere. Product Hunt, Reddit, Twitter, Hacker News. You get 50 upvotes, 200 page views. One person signs up. You feel like you're winning. Month 3. The one person you got never uses the product. After 2 weeks, they stop logging in. You have a dead user, but you haven't heard from them to confirm. You keep building new features. You add things you think people will want. You're still excited. Month 4. You try marketing. You write a blog post. It gets 12 views, 3 from your mom. You tweet about it. 2 likes. You post in Slack communities. 2 signups. You start to realize something's wrong, but you're not sure what. Month 5. You're losing interest. The thing you love building about the product itself doesn't feel relevant anymore. Because you're starting to understand that the product wasn't the problem. The problem was finding people who wanted it. Month 6. You stop working on it. You tell yourself you'll come back to it next month. You won't. Why this happens, the real reasons. Let me be specific about why 95% of SaaS projects never make money. Reason 1. You solved a problem nobody has. This is the big one. You had an idea for a problem you thought existed. You built a solution. But when you tried to sell it, you discovered that either A. The problem doesn't actually exist, or B. The problem exists, but people don't care enough to pay for it, or C. The problem exists and people care, but they're already using something else. You spent months building a solution to a problem that wasn't actually a paying problem for anyone. This happens to like 60% of SaaS projects. Reason 2. You built the wrong solution to a real problem. Okay, so the problem is real. People actually have this problem. But your solution doesn't solve it well enough for them to switch from what they're already using. Or, it solves the problem in a way that costs more than the problem costs them. Or it solves the problem but introduces 3 new problems. This happens to another 20% of projects. Reason 3. You can't get in front of potential customers. The product is good. The problem is real, but you have no distribution. You don't know how to reach the people who have this problem. You post on Twitter and nobody cares. You reach out to potential customers and they ignore you. You try paid ads and they're too expensive to work. You built something, but you have no way to tell anyone about it. This happens to about 10% of projects. Reason 4. You can't close a sale. Okay, you found people with the problem. They're interested, but you can't get them to actually give you money. Maybe your pricing is wrong. Maybe your sales process is broken. Maybe you're asking for money wrong. Maybe you're not confident enough in what you're selling. You get interested prospects, but they never convert to paying customers. This happens to about 3% of projects. Reason 5, you gave up too early. You did everything right. You found people with the problem. You showed them a solution. They were interested, but getting the first paying customer took longer than you expected. You ran out of patience, you ran out of money, you ran out of emotional energy. You quit right before it would have worked. This happens to about 2% of projects. The person who makes money. Here's what's different about the founder whose SaaS actually makes money. It's not that they're smarter. It's not that they're more technical. It's not that they had a better idea. It's that they did something completely different from day one. Instead of building in secret for 3 months and then launching, they started talking to potential customers on day 1. Before they built anything, they had conversations with 5, 10, 20 people who had the problem they thought they were solving. And here's the key part. They listened. They asked questions. They let those conversations change what they were building. The SaaS they ended up building was completely different from what they originally imagined. But it was right, because it was built based on actual conversations with actual people who actually had the problem. Then, once they had the product, selling was easier, because they'd already been talking to the people. They'd already been building relationships. The first customer wasn't a stranger. It was someone they'd been talking to for months. That's the difference. The brutal truth about ideas. Here's what everyone gets wrong about SaaS ideas. You think your idea is unique. You think it's special. You think if you just build it, people will pay. But your idea is probably not that unique. And even if it is, the idea itself is worthless. What matters is, can you get people to pay for a solution to their problem? The idea is maybe 5% of that equation. The other 95% is, do you understand the customer? Can you reach them? Can you convince them? Can you deliver something they're willing to pay for? Most founders spend 99% of their time on the idea and the product. They spend 1% of their time on customer acquisition, positioning, and sales. Then they're shocked when nobody buys. The conversations that make the difference. Okay, so let's say you want to actually make this work. Let's say you want to be in the 5% that makes money instead of the 95% that doesn't. What do you actually do differently? You talk to people. Not generic, let me interview potential customers conversations where you ask leading questions. Real conversations, where you ask someone, what's the biggest problem you have in this area? And then you shut up and listen for 20 minutes. You do this with 10 people, maybe 20. And you listen for patterns. What problem shows up again and again? What's something people mention without you asking about it? That's your signal. Then you build a version of a solution to that problem. Not the perfect version, just a version. And you show it to the people you talk to. And you ask them, would you pay for this? Not do you like this? Because everyone will say they like it. Would you actually give me money for this? If they say no, you find out why, and you iterate based on what you learn. If they say yes, you ask them to pay, right now, before you build anything else. Because if they won't pay you for it, they won't use it either. The money conversation. Here's the conversation that 95% of SaaS founders never have. How much would you pay for a solution to this problem? That's it. That simple question. Most people don't ask it because they're afraid of the answer. They're afraid the answer will be nothing or $5 a month. But that fear is the entire problem. If you don't know what someone will pay, you're building blind. You might be building a solution to a problem that people would pay $50 per month for, and you're pricing it at $5 per month because you're scared. Or you're building a solution to a problem people would pay $5 per month for, and you're pricing it at $50 per month because you think it's fancy. The only way to know is to ask. And the only way to ask is to have real conversations with real people who actually have the problem. Why the 95% give up? Most SaaS projects fail not because the product is bad. They fail because the founder didn't have the patience or the emotional resilience to do the hard part. Getting the first paying customer is hard. Not hard technically, hard emotionally. You have to talk to strangers. You have to face rejection. You have to hear no 50 times before you hear yes. You have to change your idea based on what you learned. You have to admit you were wrong. Most people can't do that. It's exhausting. It's humbling. It goes against the narrative of, I had a brilliant idea and the world will want it. So they quit. They tell themselves that the market isn't ready. They tell themselves that they need to build more before they start selling. They tell themselves that marketing is sleazy and they don't want to do that. But really, they're just avoiding the discomfort of talking to strangers and hearing no. And that's why they fail. The math that actually matters. Let me give you the math that determines whether your SaaS makes money or not. It's not complicated. Number of conversations with potential customers x conversation quality x conversion rate equals first customers. You need to have conversations. Real, genuine conversations with people who have the problem you're solving. If you have 0 conversations, your conversion rate doesn't matter. You have 0 customers. If you have 10 conversations and none of them are high quality, you ask leading questions, you didn't listen, you didn't understand their real problem, your conversion rate stays near 0. If you have 10 high-quality conversations where you genuinely understand the person's problem, your conversion rate will be maybe 20 to 50%, depending on how good your solution is. That's the math. Most SaaS founders try to engineer their way out of this. They build a better product. They design a better UI. They optimize their landing page. But if they haven't done the conversations, none of that matters. The product could be perfect, and it won't matter if nobody knows it exists and nobody wants it. The one thing that actually matters. If you're going to build a SaaS, here's the one thing that actually matters above everything else. Do people care enough about this problem to pay money to solve it? That's it. That's the question. Everything else, the tech stack, the design, the features, the pricing page, all of that is secondary. If people care enough to pay, you can have a shitty product and still make money. You'll improve it later with that money. If people don't care enough to pay, you can have the most beautiful, feature-rich product ever built, and you'll make $0. So the first step isn't coding, it's conversations. Find 10 people with the problem, have real conversations, understand what they actually need, see if they'd pay for a solution. If the answer is yes, you're in the 5%. If the answer is no, you just saved yourself 6 months of building something nobody wants. What the winning 5% actually do. The founders whose SaaS makes money do something different. They don't obsess over the product. They obsess over the customer. They spend 80% of their time understanding the customer. Who are they? What's their problem? What are they currently using? Why is it not working? How much are they paying? What would make them switch? Then they spend 20% of their time building a solution. Most founders do the opposite. 20% understanding, 80% building. That's backwards. The winning 5% also don't wait for perfect. They launch when the product is 50% done. They get feedback. They iterate based on what they learn. They don't spend months in stealth mode building in secret. They show early versions to customers. They ask for money before they've built the whole thing. They're okay with being wrong. They're okay with pivoting. They're okay with admitting that their original idea was wrong. Most founders can't do that. They've invested their ego in the idea. So they keep building the idea even when it's clear that nobody wants it. The uncomfortable honest part. Here's what I actually think about the 95% that don't make money. Most of them weren't going to make money regardless. Not because they're dumb, not because they're lazy, but because they didn't actually understand the problem they were solving. They had an idea. They thought it was clever. They built it because the building part was fun. But they never talked to actual customers. They never understood whether people actually cared. They never asked for money. So of course nobody bought it. The surprise isn't that 95% of SaaS fail. The surprise is that only 5% succeed, given how few founders actually do the hard part of understanding customers. If more founders did the customer research first, the success rate would be way higher. But they don't, because customer research is boring, building is fun. So the distribution of effort stays backwards. And the distribution of failure stays at 95%. The closing. Why do 95% of SaaS projects never make money? Because 95% of SaaS founders build something without ever figuring out if anyone actually wants to pay for it. They skip the hard part, talking to customers, doing research, selling, and jump straight to the fun part, building. Then they're shocked when nobody buys. The 5% that make money do it differently. They start with customers. They understand the problem. They validate that people will pay. Then they build. They do more talking and less building. They have more conversations and fewer features. They focus on the customer, not the product. And that's why they make money while everyone else is wondering where they went wrong. What to do right now? If you're thinking about building a SaaS, don't start coding. Start talking. Find 10 people who have the problem you think you're solving. Have real conversations. Take notes. Ask them if they'd pay to solve this problem. Ask them how much. Based on what you learn, either A. Build the thing because you have confirmation that people will pay, or B. Kill the idea because you learned that people don't actually care. Do this before you write a single line of code. Because that's the difference between being in the 95% that fails or the 5% that makes money. Subscribe if this made you rethink what actually matters when building a SaaS. Because honestly, almost everyone gets this wrong. They focus on the thing they think matters. Serious. Hamber is spiffless and inasomated winucal, and ignore the thing that actually matters. Cripping of stores lorator. Your mimel and linewing, rentering your audiords and honestry and daughters and muspiffless. There is mostly a lot runderlay referring to her or on loftimer salves will solin. They could will be fearing gaming rivers on stronite clubshire. If you're going to spend months building something, at least make sure someone actually wants it first. That's not optional. That's the entire game.